All right, so I just wanted to start off by saying it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. How many of you were in the workshops yesterday? So good. So the majority of you, because honestly, everything we talked about yesterday are things that we want to work on is basically what my presentation is. And I swear to you all, I did not go home and change my slides. So I was doing a happy dance. Like every time I was sitting in the groups and just listening to you all, what I realized is that we're all on the same page. We all have the same mindset. I was actually going to come up here and say, I want to propose a new idea to you all. I'm super happy I sat in the workshops because you already thought about what I wanted to propose. So I want to explore that a little bit. So I'm feeling now after sitting in the workshops that my presentation is kind of a summary of all of the things that we talked about yesterday. So for those of you that were not part of the workshops, this will give you the opportunity to learn a little bit about what we talked about. So basically what I want to talk about is I want to raise the bar for ourselves, as you do as well. And that's what I realized as I was listening to you all. I want us to, not only in DoD, I want us to get smarter. So in my opinion, there are different perspectives on obsolescence management, right? So the current state, we always hear reactive and proactive. So reactive is, basically when you wait, you can't buy it anymore. You try to buy it and you can't. So being proactive is, we load our bills of materials into predictive tools. We find out, 3 to 5 years from now when we're going to have an obsolescence issue. And then that really just gives us a larger window of opportunity to try to fix the problem, right? To try to figure out what resolutions to resolve the problems that we're having. Well, in my opinion, being proactive, I think is still being reactive. So we're still going to have a problem. So what I want to propose, and I've actually talked to the government about this a couple of times, and they kind of looked at me like I had two heads. And that's why I was a little bit apprehensive today to propose this to you all, because I want us to be more strategic. So what I'm talking about is designing for obsolescence. So obsolescence, in my opinion, is not the bad thing. It's inevitable. It's a nature of the beast. So doing this for almost 20 years, I'm kind of tired of hearing that obsolescence is bad and that the obsolescence team just causes us problems. And, every time the obsolescence team comes my way as a program manager, they're asking for money. It's inevitable. It's the way it is. What is bad or what is worse than obsolescence, in my opinion, and that's what the message that I want to talk about now is poor part selection and poor planning. I think that that's what we need to fix. And what I heard yesterday in the workshops is that not only is the government struggling with planning, but we may not be doing as good of a job in part selection as we can be. So I actually volunteered to be the parts management program manager for DoD as well. So in addition to DMSMS, I've taken on parts management. When I talk about parts management, I'm talking about part selection. So it's in design, it's early in the life cycle and acquisition. It's not supply, not inventory, not sustainment. So many times when I say parts management, people assume, that's what it is. But the reason why I volunteered to take on the parts management program is because I feel as though obsolescence management providers, it gives us the perfect opportunity to be early in design now, to insert ourselves in critical design reviews, preliminary design reviews, to get buy-in from the systems engineering community and the acquisition community. And so I want to let you all know that I want your help to shape our future in DoD. So when I talk about designing for obsolescence and better part selection, I want us to take a look at not only ensuring that we're not designing in obsolescence as we, build our systems, but also as we do redesigns. I always say treat a redesign as a new acquisition. If you didn't get it right the first time, let's get it right now. But let's design our parts for better performance, reliability, qualification, make sure they're qualified, make sure we have multiple sources. We talked a lot about that yesterday, how single source is causing us a lot of issues. Let's look at new and emerging technologies, not, of course, ensuring that, they're not obsolete or counterfeit. Let's do a better cost-benefit analysis as we're designing, our systems. And then let's not forget sustainment. That's always been an issue for me. I know that the government and industry, so our primes, the end of life to you all, most of the time is the end of life of your contract. The end of life to us is not that. So it's really key for us to collaborate together and try to figure out what do we do, not only in design or in production, but what about sustainment as well? And really take a closer look at that. And it's really up to the government to do what they need to do to be responsible and to pay for, parts or, to be part of the solution at that point. Another thing that I want us to take a look at, or as part of, designing our systems in part selection, is let's use, modular open system approach, or let's be smarter as we put COTS into our systems or software, ensure that we get the technical data that we need, and of course avoid hazardous or exotic materials. And so what we do here, if we do these things, or at least we think about them as we're designing our systems and being better at selecting our parts, we are making it more likely that we're going to be able to identify lower cost solutions in the future. So it's all part of just being smarter up front in design. So all of our stuff is old. I mean, seriously, in the government, I said this the other day to somebody and I was a little bit hesitant, but I'm like, why are we so stubborn in the government? Why is it that we have the mindset that we're just going to keep our systems forever? We don't want a different configuration. We want what we want. We're going to keep these things. And so I've been talking to industry quite a bit, and they're like, why do you make the decisions you do? Why do you want to keep these old systems? Why are you so stubborn? Why don't you want to change? We're offering you better performance, better reliability, and maybe even at a lower cost, but you're dead set against it because we're going to keep our systems as is. And I really want to, and we do this in software. So part of what we need is to plan better. And, I was kind of surprised yesterday to hear that industry is struggling a little bit with roadmaps and planning as well. I thought you guys do a much better job of that than we do. So I want to stop admiring the problem today. So I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm not a fan of admiring the problem. So I want us to find, if we can, let's figure out how to solve this problem together. If we are, if planning is an issue and we're not looking at trends, and we talked yesterday about how our predictive tools may not be forecasting, the reliability of that may not be as high as we want it to be, let's figure out how to solve that together and let's work on it. But I think that what we need to do is we need to, instead of thinking about keeping our systems as is forever, let's take a look at, some different capability enhancements based on some pre-planning. If we did this, we could actually budget for it. Instead of being the bad DMSMS or obsolescence people and going around with our tin cup all the time and saying we need money, and program offices saying, well, why didn't you tell us that before? Or why do you feel, why didn't you warn us? Well, we need to plan better for that. And these are the things that we need to be planning for. And better planning for sustainment, of course. We have service life extension efforts, because we need capability for a longer time, technology refresh based on the trends. And we talked a lot about how we're not doing as good of a job identifying trends, and having that be part of our forecasting, and do some improvements based on cost. So really what I went through that pretty quickly because I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. I think we're all on the same page. But my heart and where I'm at is I want to have the program offices be successful. So I started out at the V22 program office, supported all 35 NAVAIR program offices, and that's where my heart lies all the time. So this is not a DoD thing. It's not a Robin Brown. It's what can we do to make the program offices and ensure that the warfighter has the materials that they need and the weapon systems are operational when they need them. So I want to figure out every day I'm asked, what is your top O&S cost drivers? What are your top 10 issues across DoD? I can't answer that question because we are so stovepipe within the DoD. I don't have a system currently where I can just plug in and search a part number and try to figure out exactly how many platforms are affected. I feel as though industry is the same way. There's many organizations, you all have your different databases, some industry folks don't, within even in the same company, you're not able to see across, how many weapon systems have that same component. So I need some help. And I feel like in order for us to be successful and crack the code on some of these things, we really need to have acquisition and sustainment community. So I work in the engineering enterprise at OSD. But I support, honestly, the logistics, acquisition, and sustainment side just as much as engineering. I also support the manufacturing, industrial-based policy folks, the maintenance folks, the manufacturing folks, because I really feel, and this may be because I have a master's degree in psychology, and I used to be a social worker, by the way. It takes the village, right? It takes everybody. The collaboration is key to be able to make this work. So we need engineering, we need logistics, we need program management. You need to involve your contracting folks, your legal, your financial. How many here? Am I the only one from DoD in the room? I thought so. All right. So I'm glad to be here and I'm honored to be here. I'm happy to be representing what we're doing and I really look forward to working with you guys. One of the things that I'm super, super excited about is I've never had the opportunity yet to work with, the international folks. I just started, actually, I'm involved with IOM now and learning about what they're doing in Germany and the UK. That really fascinates me and excites me. Also, who's from the automotive industry? Is there anybody from automotive in here? All right, or railroad or medical so if you guys, since I don't see any hands, can you help connect me to folks in those industries? I want to know what they do. And I think that you all, maybe next FOM or at the DMSMS conference, we can have, I'll talk about my working groups here in a second, but I really want to learn from those folks as well. I think that that's key. They may be facing the same challenges. Hey, they may be really super good at road mapping and technology refresh, so let's learn. I'm not like a big fan of duplication of effort or reinventing the wheel in my world. I'll steal other people's ideas all the time, if it's going to help make us successful. But we need to have, all of these people in order to be successful. So my other slide, I think it's the last one. So I just want to invite you. So I have a DoD DMSMS working group, and I have a DoD parts management working group. So the DoD DMS, so I'll tell you the DMSMS working group is government only. It's been like that for a couple of years now. I have a reason. There's always a method to my madness, but my parts management working group, so DMSMS has about 125 people, parts management has about 250. Parts management is 60% industry, 40% government currently. So next week, I'm having a parts management working group meeting. You're all welcome to attend. We even have a dial-in. So if you want that information, I would love for you to be part of that. And what I'm doing is I'm strategically with AIA and NDIA, the industry associations, because I think we need to do this smartly, is I'm going to combine these two working groups at the end of 2019 or beginning of, I can't even believe I'm talking about 2020, but I want to combine this because what I'm feeling is there's a lot of synergy. So the parts management is part selection. So I'm now responsible for policy and guidance, not only for DMSMS, but for part selection and parts management and all of that. And I want to get the road mapping, the systems engineering folks on board too, so we can get smarter at this road mapping and refresh. We also have, I'm a member of the industry associations, so I've been, attending all of their division meetings. I feel it's key for us to learn that way. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the DMSMS conference. So we have, December 3rd through the 6th in Nashville. So I would love for all of you to be there. We are going to have a strategic DMSMS planning panel. We're going to have an executive panel. So all of those people in OSD that I mentioned in acquisition, sustainment, industrial-based policy, engineering, manufacturing will be on the panel. All your service leads. So I have a DoD DMSMS lead for every service. I also have a DMSMS lead for every program. So if you ever are feeling like you're not connected to the right people, don't hesitate to reach out to me and I can connect you to those leads. We do have a standardized process for the proactive DMSMS in DoD. And I can truly say that when I speak to all of my service leads in my organizations, we do follow the same process. Now we're going to raise the bar and we're going to be better at planning and we're going to be better at part selection. So join my team, send me, and I would love to hear your thoughts. So please, I'm very approachable, so don't hesitate to send me an email. Let me know what your thoughts are, and please help me to better choose our parts and our systems, because that's what you guys do. That's your role, and let's plan better and look at trends and avoid having obsolescence issues. That's it.
So does anyone have any questions for Robin? Here we go, one right here. It's not a plant, he made it up just now.
Hi, Robin. Thanks very much for plugging the community so much and genuinely meaning it as well. But the thing that I had a question on was something you brought up really early on in your talk. It was there's a difference between end of life of a program or end of life of a contract being the same as end of life of an assembly or the usable life of that product. How is that manifesting itself in what you're seeing today, and what problems specifically is that causing, where there's kind of abandonment of responsibility at the end of a contract?
Well, so what I'm discovering, or what I've noticed, in the past 20 years is, so industry has a tendency of solving the problem to the end of life of the contract. And that could be, a bridge buy up to that point, then a redesign, in planning for a redesign, or, at the end of the contract, if the government has not collaborated or doesn't have the data at that point, then we're starting from scratch. So it's just, and sustainment is not considered in that also. So there are many times that we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. We may not want to redesign. We hadn't even planned for that, and we hadn't because of the poor planning piece of it, and it ends up costing us a heck of a lot more money than we ever anticipated, as we move forward, or just some of the things that I've noticed.
Other questions? Don't be shy. There we go.
Hey, Robin. Thank you for bringing up the planned improvements. So I think that's very synergetic with the tech refresh that we discussed yesterday at the workshop. So as you know, a lot of things are driven by money. and tech refreshes or planned improvements will cost money. And obviously, that's a kind of a trade-off between, do you want to spend money by surprise with the unplanned redesign versus the planned improvements or tech refresh? The question I had is, have you guys done any sort of modeling to see, the planned improvements will actually save you money and gain efficiency?
I think we need to do better. Is Dr. Sanborn in here somewhere? Yeah, so there's your expert on that. However, even though he has a model, do you still call it MoCA? So we do have a tool or a way to be able to do that. But honestly, the government has not adopted it. I really feel that at this point, we're not using it as much as maybe we should. So we can do that. And I think that we would have to do that. So, and then talking about, I really liked what you said. I mean, it's pay me now or pay me later, right? And I really feel as though if we plan for it, we could budget for it where we don't now, I'm also I'm trying to change, so the financial management regulations is a little bit confusing. So there's a product improvement section where it talks about modifications and redesigns. And a lot of people don't know this, but a modification and a redesign is actually considered to be in production, which allows the government to use all colors of money versus, just sustainment dollars. So I'm really trying to clarify that and make some changes there. So that might help, because comptrollers right now, there's inconsistencies across their understanding of that, and then also program offices as well. So that might help with that too.
We have time for one more.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, something worried about a few years ago, and I wondered on the policy side if we've realized my fears or if you've gotten into it on performance-based logistics sustainment contracts. You mentioned access to tech data and configurations, and I was worried when you come to the end of your options, you might be in a sole source situation without insight in the configuration or the final tech data for going on to another contract. And have you done any policies for that, or is that fear just a bad old guy fear or what?
No, we still have that fear. As a matter of fact, for the past couple of years, I've been working with the industry associations, and I've been told that PBLs would solve all of our problems, right? If you have a PBL. And I really still feel like you feel at the end of the contract, if you don't have the key exit criteria in there, and throughout the contract, if you don't have visibility of obsolescence management, you may be, SOL at that point. But so what we're doing there is I've asked the industry associations, maybe industry in the room can help me. I've yet to discover a good PBL or a good, program that really looks at obsolescence management and considers sustainment as they're doing the obsolescence management in production. So I'm still searching. So I'm not a fan, and I'm not sold yet that PBL is the answer. But what we're doing is we just recently revamped our DMSMS contract language. So we've been working with industry for a couple of years now, and we're ensuring that in language, whether it be a PBL or any contract, that exit criteria is in there, and that visibility and that oversight is key to being able to continue after, whatever type of contract it is. Welcome.
Okay, let's give it up for Robin Brown.